So yesterday we talked about dividing fractions. Today we're going to talk about all of them. We're going to add fractions, we're going to subtract fractions, we're going to multiply fractions, we're going to divide fractions. Okay? You got right? You 100% were talking about. Yeah, you 100% were. Facts. Okay? All right? So let's not do that. Okay? Tomorrow we're going to play a little review game in class to review all of the stuff from Unit B. Thursday is going to be your kind of like work day, catch-up day, because remember Thursday all of your homeworks are due to be turned in, or if you haven't turned in some homeworks. Yesterday, most of you got a grade report. Mrs. Hill, I think, gave her grade report out last week, Thursday or Friday. I think it was Friday. And I gave mine out yesterday. So look on there. You can always look on Infinite Campus too if you need to figure out what you're still doing. Okay. So all that's due on Thursday, and then Friday of this week is test day. Okay. So Friday test this week. All the goals you can use if you've got it turned in and we get it back to you. All your note packet you get to use. You get to use your blue factor sheet. You get to use your purple multiplication sheet. Okay, so you have plenty of stuff that you can use. Speaking of which, you probably want to have out your blue and your purple factor and multiplication sheet too if you still need them, so that when I'm asking you if these things can be reduced or if these things what times what, you can answer those questions relatively rapidly. Okay? All right. So we are in your note packet. It should be on the last page. It's the B.11 Notes. And up at the top, we've got some rules. Rules for adding signed numbers, rules for multiplying and dividing signed numbers. And then we've got some other stuff. Okay, so adding signed numbers. Okay, so we'll start there. Now this goes back to Unit A. What do we do when we add two numbers together? Do you remember those rules? Because they're a little different than adding and subtracting fractions. So that's why we want to go over them again. If we add two of the same signed numbers, so if we add a positive plus a positive, a negative plus a negative. Do you remember? If they're different, then we do what? Not necessarily. You're thinking multiplication. Yeah, I'm thinking addition. Yes. Okay? So if I'm adding a positive plus a positive, what do we do? A positive plus a positive. I know we're thinking back all the way to Unit A. Positive plus a positive. What do I do with the digits? We add the digits together. Okay? Negative plus a negative. What do we do? Add the digits together. Okay? And then what about the sign? Keep whatever it is. So if it was a positive, we keep it positive. If it was a negative, we keep a negative. Okay? Alright? So that's same sign. Okay? What about adding different signs? So a positive plus a negative, or a negative plus a positive. Not always. You're thinking multiplication. I'm thinking it's still addition. Okay, so don't even look at him. Okay? Positive plus a negative. Negative plus a positive. What do we do with the digits? We subtract the digits, and what do we do about the sign? Can't keep, there's one of each, so we can't keep the sign. Okay? What do we do about the sign? Keep the sign of the larger one. Okay? Keep the sign of the bigger one. Okay? Now, multiplication of two signed numbers. Okay? If the signs are the same, it's positive. If the signs are different, it's negative. Okay? All right? So these, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds here now. Come on. Come. There we go. Okay? So here's our rules for adding and multiplying signed numbers. Okay? This was Unit A stuff. We're bringing it back because we want to keep going over it and reusing it, keep going over it and reusing it. Okay? So write this stuff down on rules for adding signed numbers. Keep that, like, this other half over here, the right half of your, we're going to fill that up too. Okay? All right? So now let's talk Unit B. Let's talk fractions. Okay? Adding and subtracting fractions. What are my steps for adding and subtracting fractions? What do you got, Norm? First off, we got to find a common denominator. Then what do we got to do second? Not yet. No. What do we got to do second? Not yet. That's third. That's third. That's step number 2 in there. So we find a common denominator. Reduce. That's step 4. And this is step 2. We got to adjust our fractions, right, to fit our common denominator. We got to find equivalent fractions to fit that common denominator. Then what do we do? Step 3. Add or subtract the top. What about the bottom? Leave it the same. Leave it as our common denominator. Okay? And then what do we do? Reduce. Then we reduce. Okay? So we got that. Come on now. Okay? So that's multiplying, or excuse me, that's adding and subtracting fractions, which is a little different than adding and subtracting just whole numbers. Okay. Then we've got multiplying fractions. What do we do when we multiply fractions? We can reduce first, and then what? So multiply across?
Yes.
Multiply straight across? Yep. Okay, so we can multiply, so we can reduce first, and then we can multiply across. Shut up, buddy. Rule number 1. Yep. Or what's our other option? So we can reduce first and then multiply, or we can, the way that you guys like to do it, multiply first and then reduce. Okay? So we got those 2 options when going through there. Okay? The one thing that we forgot to say in there, before we do all of that, we got to make sure we have all improper fractions. Okay? Alex. Got to head up. All right, so we got number 1. Okay? Yeah, here, what's going on with this red thing here? I don't know what was going on there. That was weird. Okay, so the first thing you got to do now with all of these problems today, because today it's not, you're not just going to get a worksheet of adding. You're not just going to get a worksheet of subtracting. You're not just going to get a worksheet of multiplying. You're not just going to get a worksheet of dividing. Now they're all 4 going to be mixed in on the same worksheet. So the first thing you got to do is you've got to figure out what you're doing in the problem so that you can go back up here and you can follow whichever steps that you're doing. Okay? So you got to pay attention to what's going on in between the 2 fractions. With me? Okay? So in this one, what are we doing? in between the fractions. What's our operation? It's subtraction, okay? So that means we're going to follow our adding and subtracting rules, okay? So first step was find a common denominator. What's our common denominator? 10. Okay? Then we got to adjust. 2 times what gets me 10? 2 times what? 5 gets me 10, which means I got to multiply on top by 5. 5 times 1 is 5, so this one's 5/10. Do I have to adjust this one? No, that one's already has got a denominator of 10, so we're there. So step 2 is done. Step 3. Subtract. What's 5 minus 7? Negative 2? Do I like negative 2/10? Why not? How do I know for a fact that I can reduce it? Without even looking at my blue sheet. What do you got, Aiden? Because they're both even, right? They're both even numbers, so for sure they can both be divided by 2. Okay? 2 divided by 2. 2 divided by 2. 1. So that means you got negative 1 on the top. 10 divided by 2. 5. Okay? So we got negative 1/5 there. Okay? You do number 2 right now. Teach where it's doing. Because then that way you're ready for multiplication too. You know what I mean? So I would here go negative 2/3 plus 6 times 8 is 48 plus 1 is 49/8. It makes our numbers be a little bit bigger, but we can do that. Right. So common denominator, 3 and 8. 24? Yeah, I like 24. Okay? What times 3 gets me 24? 8. Okay? So I gotta multiply by 8 here, which means I gotta multiply by 8 here. 8 times negative 2. 8 times negative 2. Negative 16. Yeah. Okay? 8 times what gets me 24? 3. I'm going to go times 3 there, which means I'm going to go times 2 there. Whoa, big number, right? Right? 49 is 1 less than 50, right? Right? Okay. What's 50 times 3? That's 150. But I got those extra 3, right? So I got to subtract 3. So it's 147. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now we got common denominators. Now what? Add the tops, right? Negative 16 plus 147. 163 or 131? I like 131 because it's a negative plus a positive. Yep, so it's 131. Now, 131 is a bigger number, right? It's not on our blue sheet. Okay? Do you guys know the trick? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. There's a trick out there that how you can figure out if any number is divisible by 3. Okay? Does anybody know the trick? You add up the digits. So in this case, we would add 1 plus 3 plus 1. Okay? 1 plus 3 is 4 plus 1 is 5. Okay, so our total is 5 of our digits. If that number is divisible by 3, then your big number is divisible by 3. Is 5 divisible by 3? No, it's not. So 131 is not divisible by 3. Okay? and it's not even, so there's nothing that can be reduced there. So we can just leave this as 131 over 24, and I would probably just go ahead and leave it as that. Okay? If you wanted to, you could write it as 5, and I want to say it's 11 24. Because 5 gets me to 120. Yeah. Okay. But again, for big numbers like that, leave them improper. We're just fine. All right. Good to go on that one? All right. Number 3. Now we're going to divide fractions. This is what we did yesterday. Remember improper fractions, and then remember our 3 key words. Keep, change, flip. Okay? Keep, change, flip. So keep the first one, change it to multiplication, flip the second fraction. Okay? Try this one. Try number 3. Crazy number 4 problem here now. So first thing that we got to do, we've got to make this mixed number, we got to make that be an improper fraction. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 3 is 15. So this is negative 15 fourths divided by negative 5/8. Okay? So that was that step right there. Got to make improper fraction. Okay? Now, keep. What am I keeping? What am I keeping? Negative 15 over 4 is my keep fraction. What's my change?
The negative 5/8.
What's my change?
Division.
Change division to multiplication.
My bad.
What's my flip?
Negative 8.
Slow down. What do you got? What's it flip to? 8 over negative 5. Or if you wanted to go negative 8 over positive 5, that's fine. But you can only put that negative sign in one of the spots. Doesn't matter which one it goes in. Okay? Are you guys a multiply or reduce first type of people?
Multiply.
If we multiply, we're going to get some big numbers. Okay? 8
multiply.
times 15 is going to be kind of big.
120.
It's 120. It's negative 120. We okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How about just because we've done a lot of examples of multiply first, let's do an example of reduce first. I know I'm mean, but watch this. How many times can I divide 4 by 4? How many times is 4 going to 4? Once, right? Can I divide 8 by 4? How many times? 2. Can I divide 15 by 5? How many times? Can I divide 5 by 5? How many times? 1. So negative 1. Okay? Negative 3. You are not helping it. Okay? Right? Right? You're just being in straight up distraction. That's all you're doing. Okay? And if that's your goal, it's working. But you know what it's going to result in? You sitting in the corner looking at the corner, because then you can only distract the corner. Okay? All right? Okay? Negative 3 times 2. Negative 6. Negative 1 times 1.
Negative 1.
Negative 1. Negative 6 divided by negative 1.
Negative 6.
Negative divided by a negative. We talked about it earlier.
Oh, positive 6.
Positive 6. So it's negative divided by a negative. Okay. All right.
I did it the other way.
That's fine. Again, they both work. I just wanted to show the other one. All right, so now we got this one. Okay? We can handle this one. I'm not worried about it. First thing that we've got to do is we've got to do this part in here. So negative 2/3 times 5 plus 2 is 7/5. Okay, so that's going to be what? Negative 14/15. Agree with me on that? Okay. Then we still have the minus 1 5/7, but that is really minus 12/7, right? 1 times 7 is 7, plus 5 is 12. Oh, that's a multiple. Sorry, that is a multiplication. I looked at them, so that makes it even easier. That's good because I was worried. Okay, so we got to multiply by that one. Okay, again, big numbers, right? 14 times 12 is a big number. Let's reduce first again. 7 can go into 7, right? Can 7 go into 14?
Yeah.
How many times? 2? Okay. We got negative 2 and 1. What's a number that can go into 12 and 15? 3. 3. Let's divide by 3. 15 divided by 3. 5. 12 divided by 3. 4. I'm going to put the negative sign. This negative sign I'm going to move up there to the 12. So it's going to be negative 4. Okay? Negative 2 times negative 4. Negative 2 times negative 4. 8, positive 8 over 5. Right? All right, hold on. I got to get your homework out to you.